Hi everyone, Who Flung Poo again. Today I was looking at again my personal Facebook page and came across somebody who I follow who is an old friend, and he posted something from this gentleman, Mark Amore. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce his name. And I just kind of wanted to make a response video to this because it'd be easier for me to kind of get it out using voice instead of having to type all my rebuttal comments to what he had to say. Excuse me. So let's get into it here. Mark says, "Listen, I'm not going to change your mind, and you're not going to change mine." Well, first off, Mark, then what the hell is the point? Well, I can already tell that the point is that you just felt the need to bloviate on your feed, which is fine. That's your right, but you needed to bloviate on your feed and make some comparisons that I'm going to show are false equivalents that you've got going on here. So let's get into it here. If Hillary's emails bother you, but the 22 million deleted emails during the Bush-Cheney administration, also on a private server, don't, I can't argue with that. And I'll tell you why you can't argue with that, and why it's a false moral equivalency. Bush and Cheney aren't running for president and vice president again. And these emails that you're talking about are in reference to, I'm assuming, the emails that had to do with Alberto Gonzalez at the time. I believe he was the Attorney General. And the firing of 8 other attorneys or federal attorneys. The thing is that you want to talk about everybody making a big stink about it. I mean, not you specifically, but I've heard people talking about wanting to make a big stink about Hillary's emails and talk about how they're not an issue, and how there was no such outrage over the Bush-Cheney administration emails. Difference being, again, I already laid out for you that these guys are not running for president. Hillary is. So she is going to be under greater scrutiny for this. Next, there has been no evidence to suggest that these 22 million deleted emails, unless you want to say otherwise, had anything to do with national security issues. My argument isn't necessarily that what the Bush-Cheney administration did was right or wrong. My issue is that you're making hay out of something that is irrelevant. It was relevant at the time, not so much today. And the reason why it didn't get as much scrutiny then as it did now is because Hillary's running for president, they're not. And I don't know. And this is something I've noticed about what you do here. These links that you have after each comment support your comment in the affirmative, but not in the negative. If Benghazi bothers you, and 13 embassy attacks during Bush, where 60 people were killed, doesn't bother you, I have no argument for that. And you're right, you don't. It's great that you put this PolitiFact link here, but the problem with the PolitiFact page is that it doesn't talk about any of the nuances of those 13 attacks. It doesn't talk about how in those 13 attacks, first of all, only one American diplomat died in any of those 13 attacks. The other point is that these attacks were spontaneous. There were no warnings that these attacks were coming down. Whereas with Benghazi, the Obama administration had been receiving reports, they've been getting warnings that there was going to be an attack in Benghazi. Okay, so again, you don't have a great equivalent here. This does not equal that. And again, you will only point up or bring up a link that justifies your comment in the affirmative, and that's fine. That's why I'm here. Your next comment is, if you think Hillary, if you think the Clintons running their charity, a charity with an A rating with CharityWatch.org, is that means anything, because it doesn't. That has 88% of its contributions going out to charity and not overhead, and has a higher rating than the Red Cross and United Way, irrelevant, is a conflict of interest while having no desire to know where Trump's money comes from, which is now from all foreign sources, because no U.S. bank will loan him money anymore, citation needed, and of course you don't have. And if you had no problem with the conflict of interest with Dick Cheney running Halliburton and making... Dick Cheney was not running Halliburton. Again, citation needed. You know, you've got factcheck.org and Charity Watch backing your claims and the affirmative of the Clintons and Hillary, but you have nothing backing up your claims with Trump or Cheney. I wonder why the hell that is. Next, if you have women and girls in your life who you want treated with respect, you don't have a problem with Trump's rampant misogyny, I have no argument for that. Rampant misogyny? Oh, you're going to cite HuffPo? Oh, that's great. I'm glad this is coming from a source that has absolutely zero bias, right? Again, prove this. Prove this from something credible. And I'm sorry to tell you, HuffPo isn't necessarily credible. You have Trump making misogynistic comments towards specific women, but when has Trump ever really said anything about all women? Or are we just assuming that if he says anything against one woman, he must hate all women? Holy crap. You know, I can say negative things about Hillary all day, and you'll probably assume that I hate all women for it because I picked on one. Here we go. If you don't find Trump's praising of Putin and Kim Jong-un alarming, I have no argument for that. What's funny, though,
If you want to talk about being matter-of-factual in his opinion of Putin, Kim Jong-un, Saddam Hussein, Bashar al-Assad, okay, I suppose you can call that praise. I read it and I see something that states that Trump is just being matter-of-factual. For example, on Kim Jong Un, you've got to give him credit. How many young guys? He was like 25, 26 when his father died. Take over these tough generals, and all of a sudden he goes in, he takes over, and he's the boss. How is that praise? It's a matter of fact. If you recall, when Kim Jong Il died, there was a lot of speculation as far as what would happen with Kim Jong Un. There was a lot of people speculating that the generals were going to go in and take over the whole damn thing. And as far as, Saddam and Bashar go, he called them bad guys. How was that praise? The Vladimir Putin one, basically he just said, I believe I'll get along fine with Putin if Putin respects me and if Putin wants to call me brilliant and other things. That he said that were frankly very nice. Of course, Putin said he never said that. He's not praising him, for crying out loud. This isn't praise. Did you read the article? Or do you read things with a particular filter in your brain that says that things that are factual or opinions are always necessarily glowing reviews of dictators?
LGBT rights and has stated that his Supreme Court picks could overturn marriage equality, I have no argument for that. You haven't had an argument for anything so far, so I'm not surprised. And of course, what do? Excuse me. You post something from hrc.org. Now, what is hrc.org, you ask? In case you don't know, that's Hillary Rodham Clinton.org. Yeah, that's not an argument. You're sourcing something that's already giving you an opinion in the affirmative for your argument. If you have no problem with someone who has gone on and on and on about Bill Clinton's infidelity while he cheated on his first wife with his second and his second wife with his third, then I have no argument for that. Also, Bill Clinton isn't running for office. His wife is. Oh, really? Oh, now we have a problem with who's running for office. If only you didn't pick up on this sooner. Now, here's the other thing, too. My argument for you is that with greater responsibility comes less rights. Now, I'm not a parent, but I've known enough people who are parents to understand that when they start having kids, their rights start to shrink. They can't come and go, do this or that as they please. You know, they have to plan out. You know, on a whim anyway. They can't do it as they please. They have to plan it out. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, and you may disagree with me, but as President of the United States, your rights are very, very limited. You can't come and go without a security detail. Your right to privacy is almost non-existent. Your body is no longer your own. And I'm sure in many cases you might be able to agree with me on this. I'm sure you'll balk at the idea that the president doesn't have a right to their own body when they're in office, at least when it comes to sexual gratification. And if it's with his wife, fine. That's to be expected. But to be, philandering as the President of the United States in the Oval Office, oral office, no, I'm sorry. There's a problem with that. At least I have a problem with it. I'm sure you don't. Otherwise, you wouldn't be making this silly argument. Secondly, Trump hasn't been in office yet. You do understand this, right? I know you guys like to bring up Trump's infidelities. You certainly like bringing up Newt Gingrich's infidelities, but you didn't have a problem with it with John Edwards. Oh no, it was okay. If Trump's history of racial inequality doesn't bother you, I have no argument for that. So you have this Forbes, or Fortune rather, article. Is Donald Trump racist? Here's what the record shows. And this came out a few months ago. And basically there's a video here. Well, the question is Donald Trump racist? That question has hung over the presumptive Republican nominee for president, as he has called Mexicans rapists and proposed a ban on Muslims entering the U.S. lately. Got news for you, buddy. Mexicans aren't a race. They are a nationality. Or nationality of people. They are an ethnic group. Okay? There are several races of people that live in Mexico. There is no one race of people that are Mexicans. Next, Islam is not a race. There are white Muslims. Do you not know this? This is a bogus argument. Calling the American-born Gonzalo Curiel a Mexican. He said Curiel was therefore biased against him. Whatever. Look, I like this idea that people like to have that only blacks can call each other nigger. And apparently, I guess only Mexicans can call each other Mexican, even if they were born in the United States. Okay? I know, being half Hispanic of Mexican descent myself, we often call each other Mexican. I don't have a problem with somebody white calling me Mexican. I really don't. It's not my nationality. It's not where I was born. But you know what? It is part of my ethnicity. You get it? I'm not of the Mexican race, idiot. Yeah, I mean, this is so stupid here. This is why I'm starting to, come down to the lowest common denominator here, because these are just outlandish. I mean, the links that you post don't prove your point so far. They don't justify your argument. If you have no problem when you hear Trump go on about how companies are shipping their jobs overseas and how he will stop this while his suits are made in Mexico and his ties in China, I have no argument for that. You're right. You still don't have an argument, okay? Because the problem with Trump's suits being made in other countries is that Trump does not directly sell his suits. You know what he does? He enters into an agreement with a manufacturer who wants to make suits and put his name on it to help them sell, guess what? Suits. So you really don't have a point here. Now, I will agree with you to one point that Trump knows his suits are made in these and ties are made in these foreign countries. And he could absolutely, if he hasn't already, which I don't think he has, cut ties, no pun intended, to these companies and decide to go with a manufacturer who's willing to have suits bearing his name made in the United States. That is what he should do. And if people are willing to pay a higher price to have those suits made in the United States, so be it. The bigger problem, which I'm kind of, not that surprised that you missed, is that Trump, as the President of the United States, or a politician at any level, he does not have the right to tell companies that they can't move their businesses out of the country, something President Obama has either threatened to do or tried to do. They don't have that kind of power. They cannot basically put a restraint on people's free will. That's up to and including companies who want to move their businesses.
Okay, guys, actually, I'm going to go ahead and cut it there. There were several other points that needed to be made in rebuttal to what Mark had said. But this video has been really taxing to edit and to put text in there because it's a new process of video editing with the program that I haven't tried before. Not to mention that it had taken me forever to figure out how I was going to even try to present Mark's points in this particular video. Also, the biggest problem that I have right now is that the mic I used was just terrible. As you can tell, I'm on a different mic now, and I had to splice in some commentary using this same mic that I'm currently on. So I just said, you know what, I just don't want to do it anymore. I'll go ahead and post the text in the comment section that for Mark's Facebook post. Please don't witch hunt the guy. I just wanted to rebuttal some of his points that he had made. And they will include his sources. And I'm going to go ahead and source what I felt like sourcing. Again, I know it's a little bit dishonest to not source all my arguments. But again, at this point, I just kind of lost the will to work on this video anymore. As much as I enjoy working on these videos, this particular one has just kind of sucked the life out of me. I mean, gosh, I'm not even going to bring up the Hillary Clinton video that I was going to put in here. But anyway, I want to thank you all for coming by and sitting here through about 20 minutes of video. I hope that you will like, share, and subscribe to this video. And you now know who flung the poo. Y'all have a great one.